Now we're going to print our first print. First, we'll turn on the machine by flipping the switch and back. I'm getting a message that says lubrication reminder. It's time to lubricate the Y-axis, this axis. We'll do that in the next video. So for now, I'll tap later. My printer came with an SD card pre-installed in the side. Notice it's gold side up. But I've seen online that with some of the packages, the SD card is separate in the box. So if the SD card isn't already inserted in your printer, look around in your box, especially the accessories box, to locate the SD card. Next, we'll put the filament on the spool holder and preload the filament up to the extruder. I'm using gray bamboo filament, which I keep stored in an airtight container with desiccant packets to keep the filament nice and dry. Place the spool on the spool holder so that it's coming up from the bottom. Carefully take the end of the filament out, and we'll insert it into the PTFE tube and push it all the way in as far as it will go. Okay, it's not going any further. On the screen, I'm going to tap filament, and notice the green light on the bottom. That indicates that the filament has passed the filament sensor. If I pull back on the filament, the light goes out. It's not green. And if I push it back in, the filament sensor lights up. So now I'll tap load, and the nozzle will heat up. The printer will go through a checklist, including purging any residue of older filament that might still be in there. And then when it's done, we'll be ready to start our print. It's purging the old filament now. You can see it coming out of the nozzle into the purge chute. And on the screen, we have a message saying that action is required. Please observe the nozzle. If the filament has been extruded, tap done. If it is not, please push the filament forward slightly and tap retry. We see that the filament has been purged, so I'm going to tap done. And it kicks the purged filament off to the side. The filament load has completed, so we'll tap the back arrow and we'll tap the print files icon, the benchy. This will show us the files that are on the SD card. We'll scroll down and we're going to choose the scraper grip. Tap confirm, confirm. Make sure that the bed leveling light is on and dynamic flow calibration. And I can tell that they're on because they're highlighted in a white box and they're lit up in a green color. So now I'll tap print and the print will commence. The printer will go through several pre-print calibrations to make sure that everything is tip-top. This process will take several minutes, and when it's ready, it will start printing the model. And now the print has begun. It's always a good idea to stick around for the first layer or two to make sure that everything is sticking flat on the print bed and that nothing has gone awry. The first layer looks good, and it's printing the second layer, and you can notice how much more quickly the printer prints the second, third, fourth, and the rest of the layers as compared to the first layer. It prints the layer slowly to assure that it sticks well to the bed. According to the timer on the screen, we have about 55 minutes left to go, so we'll come back in an hour and see how it came out. Now, one thing interesting to note about this print is that there are actually 3 pieces. So it's printing the first piece first, the handle, then it will print a couple other pieces afterward. And we'll talk about that process in a later video. The print is done. On the screen, I'll tap OK. Now the flexible steel sheet is held on with magnets, so that just comes right off. You can bend it slightly and the prints should just come right off. And you can clean off the pre-extrusion lines at the beginning as well. And to put the print bed back on, slide it so that the back fits into the notch and just let it go down. You want to make sure to keep the print bed clean and free of dust and finger oils. You can use isopropyl alcohol on a clean paper towel to wipe the surface occasionally. To assemble our scraper, we'll need our screws and the blade. Be very careful here. The blade is sharp. You'll see it's designed so that the two protrusions here will line up with the protrusions of the blade. It only fits in one orientation. And here's the assembled scraper, along with a cover. To remove the filament, we'll tap Filament, Unload. Okay, the screen says, Action required. Please remove the filament. And we'll tuck the end of the filament into one of the holes on the side of the spool, pull it nice and tight, and then put the filament into a sealed storage container with desiccant packet to keep it nice and dry. On the screen, we'll tap the arrow to go back. You'll notice that the nozzle temperature is dropping. The print bed has already dropped to room temperature, 27 degrees Celsius. Once the nozzle is down below 50 degrees Celsius, you can turn off the machine by flipping the switch in the back.